Hello crafters, we are back to continue with our album. I have already created this page which I'm going to show as a sample, but we are going to make a new one as the following page in our album. So let me show you where this page is right now. So here, let's take it from the beginning. So this is our first page where I put the family tree paper. Then we have our pop-up page, and then on the following one we've created this page. So the way this works, you open it like this, and then you open it like this, and these are the pictures that I've used here. On this side I've used the baby pictures, and then on the page we are going to create similar with this one, where I'm going to put more like the toddler pictures. And this is just, I found it in my stash, like, you know, the birth name, birth date, weight, length, etc. for the mother to complete. I'm just leaving it in there. So the way I'm going to do it for the following page, I want to do it like a mirror reflection. So I have already started working on it, in the sense that take your next base page. See the one that we have already created 6 at the beginning, right? Take the next base page, add another flap just like we did on this one, okay? And then, because when you open the album, these two are going to open like this. I'm going to create exactly this page here, but as a mirror image. So therefore the flap will be on this side, and this part with the transparency is going to be here. So let's get working. Once again, take another one of your base pages, okay, and add another flap like we did with the other page. As you can see, I remember I used Tyvek here because this will be very much used like this, right? And the other thing that I did is, and this is optional, I only did this because I really don't like it when I have to make, see, in this case when we created this, because I put this a little bit more on the inside of the page and it's a little bit shorter than the page itself. If I didn't use this base cover, or I don't know how to call it otherwise, here would have been a lot of black showing from the base page, and I don't like it. But like I said, this is an optional step. Now if you want to do it like me and to still cover your base page with something before you start working, I would advise to use very thin paper. This gold paper, it's actually, see, it's very bendable. I would say it's like probably 20 pounds text, which is actually the thickness of like a printing paper, okay? So because if it's something very thick like you normally take from a paper pad, it adds to the thickness of the album. So we are trying to keep it at the minimum when it comes to bulkness. So let's start working. Once again, this is optional. It's up to you whether or not you want to do it. I wanted to do it because, like I said, otherwise I couldn't cover this small frame here or on the sides. See, like this, it's a nice frame all over. While this will be the opposite, the mirror image, I am actually, because I'm a righty, when I'll work on this, I'm going to work on it like this. See, like the flap opens, so I'm going to work on it like this, and then when I'm ready to add pictures, etc., this is when I'm going to turn it like this. So I make sure that of course I'm going to put the pictures in the right, the correct way. I'm going to refer this at times just because it's already made for measurements, etc. But right now I'm going to put this on the side, and we are going to start to work on this. And for that, what you are going to need is 4 pieces of cardstock. This is cut at 6 5/8 by 12. So once again, 6 5/8 by 12. This will create that frame. You know what, let me keep this here for the time being. This will be this frame here, okay? I would like you to have another two pieces at 6 3/8 by 10 3/8, and then another one at 7.5 by 10 3/8. So once again, this one is 6 3/8 by 10 3/8, and this is 7.5 by 10 3/8, and these two will create this one and this one here. Okay, and then another piece at 8.5 by 10.5. So once again, it's 10.5, sorry, 8.5 by 10.5, and this is this page here, though, this flip here. Okay, so let's start working. Right now I'm going to take the piece of paper that I'm going to use as a frame, the one that it's 6 5/8 by 12. So I'm going to put everything else on the side, and let's work on this piece. Oh, so many cables here. Okay, we're gonna need our scoring board, which is getting dirtier and dirtier. So we are going to do some scoring, and what I did with this, let's refer back to our already made page. I made like an eighth of an inch raised border all the way around the frame, because think about it, you are going to have the pictures inside, you also have this piece that slides inside. See, so we need that space. Okay, let's take our scoring tool and let's see. So on the 6 5/8 side, we are going to score at 3/4 and 7/8. Let me look at my notes a little bit. Yes, so first the 3/4, 3/4. So we are scoring on the 6 5/8 side at 3/4, and then at 7/8. I'm pressing hard because this is a very hard cardstock. Then we are going to turn it around, and on the 12-inch side we are going to score it at 5/8 and 3/4. So first 5/8. So where is our 5/8? Here, and then at 3/4. We are going to do the same. I'm going to flip this around, and we are going to do the same on the other side. So once again, 5/8 and then 3/4. I just want to double check 5/8 3/4, because I'm so notorious 5/8 3/4 scoring the wrong way. And then we said that this one is going to be 3/4 and 7/8. Correct. We are going to put the scoring board away for now, and I'm gonna take my rulers, my pencil, and your craft knife. So what I'm trying to achieve here, and let me refer back to the page that I have already made. We need to cut out this middle piece, this frame, and the way I designed this is for these sides here to be 3/4 of an inch and these sides here to be 1/2 an inch. So we need to cut this inside panel, okay, to have a border of 3/4 of an inch on the long sides and 1/2 an inch on the short sides. So let's do that. So because I'm really bad when it comes to cutting straight, this is what I like to do. I am going to mark as follows. So on the side that is not scored at all, I'm going to draw a line at 3/4 of an inch from the base. Okay, so let's see, 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to make sure that this is straight on my mat, and I'm going to look for the 3/4 of an inch line. Okay, so I'm going to draw 3/4 of an inch. Okay, on the other side I am going to draw a line at, let me look quickly at my notes, 1 inch and 5/8, and because this is 1.5 inches, I'm gonna put this away and I'm going to use this ruler. I'm going to make sure that I align one of the lines on my mat with 1 inch and 5/8. I'm gonna put this under quickly. I'm gonna use the 9-inch line on the mat to do 1 inch and 5/8. So 1 inch and 5/8. Okay, so here is 1 inch, here is 1/2 inch, and 5/8. While I love this Martha Stewart ruler, the only problem with this is the fact that it's very tough to see it on dark paper. So now I'm going to push my cardstock to meet this 9-inch line on my mat. This is how my brain works, and this is how I know it works for me, but whatever works for you. But you'll have to draw a line 1 inch and 5/8 from the base of the cardstock. Okay, and draw a line, and I'm hoping I'm at 1 inch and 5/8. 1 inch, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, I am. Okay, the next step is to so now we are on the short sides, the ones that we have scoring on both sides, and here we will have to cut it 1 inch and 1/4, because remember we want to have a frame here of 1/2 inch, right? So at this point, here I'm not going to draw a line, I'm gonna go straight and cut it. So basically I'm going to measure 1 inch and 1/4 from the base, okay, and I'm going to cut in between the drawn lines. Okay, just to make sure that I draw these lines straight, because like I said, I'm horrible like that. So 3/4 here, let's make sure that I'm here 3/4 from the last score line. Yes, I am. Okay, so basically I'm just checking to make sure that on the non-score side I'm 3/4 from the base, and on the scored side I'm either 3/4 from the second, right, from this line, from this scored line inside 3/4, okay, or 1 inch and 5/8 from the base of the page, and everything looks fine. Okay, so now I am ready to cut on the short sides. Okay, I'm going to cut in between, so from this line to this line at 1 inch and 1/4 from the base of the cardstock. So I'm going to again align my ruler. The reason why I'm not really using this to cut, well, it's a good ruler, the Tim Holtz ruler. It slides, it really does. This one has a non-sticky side, this part is non-slip side, so it sticks better on my cardstock. But like I said, it's also tough to see the lines on dark cardstock, so that's the reason why I'm using my mat as a guideline. So I said 1.25 inches. What I'm going to do, I'm going to make sure that on the 9-inch line I'm placing it at 1.25 inches from one end to the other. That was 1.125 inches, 1.25 inches right here. Okay, now I'm moving this down to meet that line, making sure that of course the ruler is not moving. Okay, I'm okay there, okay there. Making sure that I'm still straight on my line on the mat, 1.25 inches, 1.25 inches. And now I'm ready to cut. So I am going to cut in between the two drawn lines. You might see my head in the camera because I'm trying to get a good angle to cut, and apologies if you are going to see my head. Okay, we are going to do the same on the other side, on the short side. So let's make sure that I have here 1/2 inch. I'm measuring to make sure I have 1/2 inch from the cut line to the second score line, and I do. Don't know if you can see it, I do. And as you can see, this line is cut between the two drawn lines. So I'm going to do the same on the other side. I'm going to make sure that this is a line at 1.25 inches on my mat straight line, 1.25 inches. I'm going to push this down to the line. Okay, I'm good there. 1.25 inches, I'm ready to cut. So I'm going to cut the same way in between the lines that we already drew with the pencil. Okay. Perfect. Next thing we are going to cut is on the non-scored side. We are going to cut here quickly at 3/4 of an inch, and the cut is going to be between the two cut lines. So I'm going to put this at 3/4 of an inch. Making sure I'm at 3/4. Okay. I should have put this under before I arrange the ruler. Now I'm gonna arrange the ruler again. Okay, 3/4. I'm gonna push the cardstock to that line, making sure I'm nice and straight. And for this I'm going to stand up. It's a bigger line, I have to press the ruler down. I'm sorry if you might see my head, I hope it's not. So I'm going to cut in between the two already cut lines, from one cut line to the other. So let me make sure I'm straight. Okay, it looks like I'm good to go. I'm still doubting myself a little bit here. Okay. Okay. And now we are going to do the same on the other side, on the scored side. And here, where were we here? I can't remember now. 1 inch and 5/8. So I'm going to adjust my ruler to 1 inch and 5/8. That's 1.5 inches and 5/8 right there. Okay, now I'm pushing my cardstock to meet the line where I put the ruler. Okay, now I'm ready to cut. Once again, I'm going to cut in between the cut lines. Okay, perfect. Okay, and I'll put this on the side. Now it's time to apply tape, and remember, because this will be a mirror image, I am going to make sure that I will apply tape with the the longer part, okay, on the right side. Okay, so I'm going to place it like this, how it is correct. I'm going to get rid of these lines now. This is the time to do it. Okay, so let's apply tape. Now I can't remember what tape did I use when. That's 3/4 of an inch. Okay, so very close to the score line. I think this is 3/8. Yes, I'm using 3/8 tape. Okay, and to finish this off, I'm going to use 1/8 of an inch. So first use the 3/8, and then or if you have wide enough, but this I like to do it 3/8 of an inch and then 1/8 of an inch to the base. I'm gonna do the same with the other end. So once again, 3/8 of an inch closer to the score line, but not on the score line. Very important. Close to it, but not on it. Okay, and 1/8 of an inch. And now on this side, okay, this is 3/4 of an inch. I can easily use 1/2 an inch tape. then 1/8 of an inch tape. Okay, let's burnish this tape down. And just to show you how I apply the tape, see, you can still see the score line. So I'm not on the score line, I'm next to the score line. Okay, now take your scissors, take mine, and I'm going to need you to cut across like this. But see this tiny little square in the corner here? I'm talking right there. That's a tiny little square. When I'm going to cut the diagonal line, I want to cut it through this corner and this corner, so diagonally through the square. Okay, you see how I cut diagonally through the tiny little square there? And now take your scissors and remove it completely, the tiny square. So I'm going to cut this tiny little piece here, this tiny little piece here, and this tiny little piece there. See, that's all I cut, the leftover of the square. We're going to do the same on the other end. So once again, cut diagonally through that square. Okay, now remove the rest of the square. So now this is how your corners should look like. Okay, and now it's time to start bending on our score lines. Use your surface, because when it's such a tiny border, it's quite tough to follow those score lines when it's such a small difference between the score lines of 1/8 of an inch. So use your surface, your table, to help you with that. Okay, I'm not pressing very hard here, just so you know, it's just enough to tell the paper I want it to stay like this. Okay, making sure that my border is nice and straight. Okay, let's do the same for the other side. The longer piece is always more stubborn because it's longer. And see, once you brought your borders in, make sure that here they match perfectly, they don't overlap. But remember, you have to keep in mind that you have this 1/8 of an inch border. Okay, so don't make them flat, respect your 1/8 of an inch raised border. If these overlap over here, cut a little bit more, but they cannot overlap. Okay, so I'm checking to make sure that mine don't overlap, and they don't. Okay, so now we are ready to apply this on let me take this off. It's quite hot down here today. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to make room because I'm going to bring in my page to apply this. These are the other pieces. We're going to put that on the side. So make sure that your page opens this way, and we are going to put in this border going this way, so the opening of the border is the opposite from where the page opens. Okay, and because we are trying to do a mirror image of this one, I'm going to bring this as close as possible and make sure that, you know, they match in height. And I'm going to use a ruler to make sure I'm going to put it at the same how do you call it, at the same placement on the page. Which is like 1/8 of an inch. Is it? Let's see. No, it's like 1/4 of an inch from the base of the page. Okay. So I'm going to do this in stages. I will currently just remove the bottom side. And you know what? Apply some white glue too. Sometimes this double-sided tape is like it's got a mind of its own. Sometimes it sticks fine, sometimes it doesn't. So just a little bit of wet glue, which also gives you wiggle room in case you don't place it correctly. So once again, let me put my ruler down. Oops, this moved. As a guide. Stop moving. I think I'm in the right place. And I'll give you the measurements from the side of the page as well. Alright, so from the base, I'm at 1/4 of an inch from the base of the base page. No, wait. Yep, 1/4 of an inch. Just double checking here too. Yes, 1/4 of an inch. From the side, I'm going to be probably kind of the same thing. Yes, at 1/4 of an inch. And then from the top, it's going to be a little bit more. It's alright. Doesn't matter. As long as you got the base and the side down, you're good to go on the rest. Okay. So now we are ready to fully put this down. Oh, come on. Make sure when you put it down you're not gonna squash in that border, 1/8 of an inch raised border. It's quite difficult to burnish these sides because you don't want to squash that border either. So try to get in there as much as you can, and if you have a thinner bone folder, oh, I could use the other one, the one from the scoring board. I don't think I managed to glue it exactly like it's glued on this page, but it's alright. It's handmade. Errors are bound to happen. The only thing that I don't like is I never noticed. Oh, okay, this came off. Okay, we're gonna leave this on the side to dry. And we are not gonna add that transparency piece until we actually put the pictures inside, because then it's gonna be really tough to slide those pictures in there and glue them. But I'm going to make a video on how I'm attaching the pictures as well, and to show you how I cut down the pictures, how I when I work with pictures, how I calculate and how I cut them down to, especially when there are bigger pictures and the background is useless. You are interested in the people in the picture, why keep the background if you don't need to. Okay, so the next thing we are going to work on is these two pieces. Okay, this one and this one. So we're gonna put this on inside. Okay, and now you can take this and put it on the side as well. Remember, we are working from this side. Okay, put this on this side as well. Let me clean up a little bit. Bring in your scoreboard. Okay, let's cover the glue. Oh, and what I use as glue is this neutral pH adhesive by Uneco, I think it is. You'll find it on Amazon. I like it. It's okay. It's a permanent PVA adhesive, and it dries clear and remains flexible. It dries quickly. This is what I like about it. Okay, let's bring in our other pieces. So what I'm bringing in right now is the piece that measures, oh, this is, sorry, I call this one sliders because they slide in and out. This is a piece that we removed from inside the frame, so this can go now on the side, use it for other purposes at a later date if we need to. Okay, so what I would like you to bring in now, it's your piece that measures 6 3/8 by 10 3/8, and the piece that measures 7.5 by 10 3/8. So let's take the piece that measures 6 3/8 by 10 3/8, put it on the 6 3/8 side and score at 1/2 inch. Do the same with the other piece, the 7.5 by 10 3/8, put it on the 7.5 side and score at 1/2 inch. Now you can put away the scoring board. Oh, I'm sorry. On the 7.5 one, forgot one more score line. Very sorry about that. So 7.5 by 10 and 3/8, you put it in your on your scoring board on the 7.5 side. You score at ½ inch on one side, and then turn it, and then still on the 7.5 side, score it at 1 inch. So basically on the 7.5 side, you are going to have, on one side you're going to have ½ inch score line, and then on the other side you're going to have 1 inch score line. Okay, now you can put your scoring board away. You can take any of these pieces and apply 3/8 of an inch tape to the ½ inch side, and be as close to the base of the page of your cardstock as possible. Okay, so what we are going to do now is glue these pieces together on the ½ inch score lines. So on that side, glue them together. Okay, so I'm going to remove the tape backing. This is a very easy, so I'm going to put them both on my surface, make sure they are nice and straight, and then go to glue them down. And guess what? They didn't glue straight. Why is it always on the camera that my tips don't work? So I'm going to, it's so annoying. I'm going to apply tape again. It's always on camera. It always works off camera, always on camera, that it proves me wrong. It's the exception that confirms the rule, right? So I'm gonna do it again. Once again, make sure they are straight down. Please don't prove me wrong again. Okay, go on the sides. As long as the sides are perfectly glued down, the rest should come with it. Alright, now, ouch, paper cut. Hope it's not a bleeder. Alright, that's what I have bone folders for. So now train it to open on the score line. And the other side. Okay. Now we are going to bend on the other score line, the one that is 1 inch score line. We are going to apply tape. I'm gonna use ½ inch. I'll show you how the tape is applied. Let me apply the tape first. So as you can see, this piece, hang on a second, okay, and maybe 1/4 of an inch now. No, 3/8 should be fine. Great. Okay. So this will go here, okay, in our frame. And of course it will slide in while it's closed, okay. So that part with 1/2 inch is the part that goes in the frame. It will open like this. Once it's pulled out, it will open like this, right? And this piece will get glued on the piece that we are going to work on next. So let's put this on the side. So remember, we glued on the side with a 1/2 inch. On the side that it was the 1 inch score line, we bent that in the opposite direction to be under the page, and we applied tape as close to the base as possible, to the edge of the page as possible, and close to the score line, but of course not on the score line. See, like I have probably like a 1/16 of an inch away from the score line. So let's put this to the side for the time being, and let's take our last piece, which is the one that it's 8.5 by 10.25, and we are going to score this one at 3/4. So let's put this in our scoring board. So on the 8.5 side, we are scoring at 3/4 of an inch. Once again, I'm pressing very hard because this is a very thick cardstock. Okay, I'm going to apply, you know what, give me this, 1/2 inch tape very close to the edge, and then do I have a 1/4 of an inch there, or do I have to use 1/8? No, 1/4 of an inch is too big. So then 1/8 of an inch, I really wish I had better. It's alright. Once we remove this, I'm gonna use a little bit more tape, because this is the part that takes pressure, so I like to have it really well glued down. Okay, so let's see. And actually this is the piece we are going to glue on first. Okay, so you will notice that this length 10 3/8 is exactly the length of our finalized frame. Let's make sure. Oh no, oh sorry, 10.5, I'm sorry, because this one is 8.5 by 10.5. Yes, so our finalized frame, it's 10.5. okay, so from one end to the other is 10.5, because this will be the flap that comes over, that looks like a little bit like an envelope. Therefore this will have to be glued to actually match our frame, and I will give you the measurements once I glue it down. Once again, I'm working like this because I'm a righty, so I find it better than I am aware that once this is finalized, it will be turned this way to be a mirror image of the other one, right? But right now I feel more comfortable working from this direction. At this point it's okay, because you don't have any paper on it, you don't have any pictures, it's just a matter of, you know, working however you feel comfortable, and then just turn it around. So I'm going to glue this down, but right now, because I want more glue coverage here, I'm going to apply another piece of tape, and this is 1/2 inch to cover that 1/8 of an inch. So I'm going to follow, I'm applying this from the score line, okay? I'm going to apply it exactly like I applied the 1/8 of an inch, like a 1/16 of an inch away from the score line. Where is, okay, perfect. Let's make room. So let's refer to the other piece, which is here. So this one is 3/8 of an inch from the end of the page. So let's see how this will work for us here. So I'm going to mark it down with a pencil. So it's 3/8 of an inch from the base of the page, of the black page, from the edge of the black page, 3/8 of an inch. So tough, black on black. Okay. So we'll have to be exactly at the same left and right. It will have to be exactly as the frame, because this will cover the frame. So there is a lot of points you have to be careful about. And for this I'm going to use a little bit of glue just to make sure it sticks down well. And wet glue will give you some wiggle room, so if you put it crooked the first time, you can still move it around. Okay, let's do this. So I'm trying to be 3/8 of an inch from there, but also to be equal here. I think I'm good to go. No, I'm not. Why do these things always work better on camera? I mean offline. Come on. I think I'm good. I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. Go for the kill and press it down. Where is the other bone folder? This one. Okay, so far so good. And before we put the slider in, we have to mat inside here. So as you can see here, I've used this I'm not gonna tell you what paper pads I use, because I'm using from different paper pads, and these are so retired, they are retired paper pads, it will be tough for you to find the same papers. Plus, to tell you the truth, I kind of forgot myself what paper pads they are from, because when I have leftovers from paper pads, I just pull the pages out and I store them like that, just as pages, so I'm not going to remember from what collection they came. So I'm going to use now to mat inside, and actually this piece, I really don't like doing this. This piece goes all the way to the end, and the reason why I wanted to go that way is because I wanted to be able to glue down, and this is what I forgot to do, to trim these edges here. I wanted to glue this over that over this, and actually I would like to go and trim here in the corners. So see, that's why it's better to watch my videos before you take action. So let's see if I can, if the glue is still wet enough to allow me to do that. It's not easy. Okay, I was good on this side. Where's my scissors? So trim this in an angle. And go the same on the other side. This will offer more security to the flap to stay glued down. Oh my god, mind of its own. No, it actually has a good mind. It's me that I was wrong. Okay, now we're good there too. Sorry about that, bothers me. Okay, so I'm going to bring in the paper that I'm going to use to mat inside. I want my lines to go in this direction when I mat on the inside. So because this is 10.5, I'm going to cut this at 10 3/8 to fit in there, and then I'm going to see what's the length I need here. Okay, so I want 10 3/8 to fit in here like this. Wait. Okay. 10 3/8, 10 1/4, 10 3/8. Okay. Great. And I'm going to mark with my pencil what I want to cut. So I have to be away from the score line, of course, which is there. So I'll cut like here, and I'm gonna give you the dimensions right now. Let me cut it first and I'll tell you. Let me cut it and test it first, of course. I still feel a little bit of resistance, so I'm going to cut a little bit more. Sometimes you gotta test these things out. There is no rule of thumb, these are the exact measurements, because it also depends on the type of papers you are using, how thick they are, how thin they are. Okay, so this one we already know that I cut it at 10 3/8 by, and I think this would be good, haha, by 10 3/8. So this piece is 10 and 3/8 by 10 and 3/8. So this will go in here. Yep, I'm happy with this right now. So now we are going to have to glue this piece in here to cover inside the frame and to go over those inside the frame flaps. So let's apply glue. Okay, I'm going to use this, and here we are going to also use wet glue, because in order to help us slide it in the frame, otherwise it's going to be very difficult to slide it in the frame. When I cover a large area of my scrapbook pages, because it's a big album, I like to to apply tape on almost the entire I'm sorry, almost on the entire surface of the cardstock, because if you just apply tape all the way around and you put it in, then in time you're gonna apply more stuff here, and those could pull actually your page up. So that's the reason why I like to apply tape when covering larger areas. Okay, now, oh, there goes the doorbell. These people are always ringing my doorbell for no reason. Always. But let me go to see what's going on there first, because it might be for me. Maybe there is. I was very correct. It was not for me. Okay, so let's continue this. Let's remove the tape backing. Yeah, it's really frustrating, because people like come and visit their own relatives in this building, and they're still ringing my doorbell. I don't understand why it's so confusing. Why is everyone ringing my doorbell? I'm not the doorman of the building. This is from my blouse, and this is from my doggy's fur. Okay, I'm going to apply wet glue as well in order to help us slide this piece inside. This is the extra wiggle room that we need. Okay, and let's go for the kill and pray for the best. So we want this piece to slide all the way inside. So far so good, but fingers still crossed, because this is where the problem occurs. To flip it over that piece. Okay, make sure we are straight all the way in, and make sure we are straight up and bottom as well, of course, and glue down. Yay, we did it, guys, we did it. Let me take this one to burnish inside under the frame. Right now I'm just burnishing it. And the last piece we need to mount is this. I'm gonna put it in here. Okay, one thing at a time. So let's make sure we are straight. So this is the one that has 1 inch on one side over there, and it opens like this, right? So make sure your entire piece now is open. So this flap, right, is not closed but it's open. Okay, put a side with half an inch score line inside the frame, but make sure that you are at least 1/8 of an inch away from the score line. So there's the frame, 1/8 of an inch, and then score line. Okay, so let's remove the tape back in here. Oh, I forgot that this piece broke over there. Okay, so the part with the tape, it's, see, this flap opens, there's the other page, and then this is inside, right? Hold it, don't glue it down yet. First insert it under the frame. So the part with half an inch score line, insert it under the frame, and allow at least 1/8 of an inch from the frame to the score line. Make sure you're nice and straight, as well as in the middle of the frame as possible, because this one has to go in and out, right? So if we are too close to that side, it will create friction over us. So we have to be spaced out here and here, and also 1/8 of an inch away from the score line. I'm just going to eyeball it. I'm not going to be very... So once you have it in place, hold it there. Make sure that 1 inch is bent on the inside, and place it down and let it glue down to the flap. And this is it. So that 1 inch piece, it's actually, oh, you know what, I can take it out. It's actually glued down here, and I can tell I wasn't really straight with mine because I'm also looking at the camera to make sure that you guys can see what I'm doing, because I'm not really aligned, but I'm going to live with that. I'm not going to make any changes at this point. So now I can burnish it. Okay, put this back in under the frame, and now this is your mechanism. So this goes in and out. So when I come back, I'm going to show you how to, and keep in mind of course that this will actually be like this. Okay, when I come back, I'm going to show you how I'm going to do the pictures, etc. Okay, so right now we just created this mechanism at this point. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye for now.